Oh, did you just wake up, Captain? No. No, I didn't just wake up. All right, I woke up 2.5 hours ago. I just got out of bed is what I did. And when you're me, you can do that. Anyway, let's talk about how to become a successful economist. I'm being deadly serious about this video. 2, I'm not joking. But 3, economics, if you're like me, it's a very interesting subject. It's a very interesting study. And for me, it's my passion. And I originally set out to become an economist. And I did, then I didn't, then I did, and all this other stuff. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to all the young, hopeful, aspiring men and women out there who want to become economists how to do it the right way and the wrong way. All right? And economics is it's one of the most noble, interesting studies. It's basically what's the efficient allocation of resources, that kind of. But it's basically how to make everybody rich, how to eliminate poverty, how to make everybody's lives better. It's probably the most noble study out there. And so people are morally attracted to it, and they also think because of the math and the finances and its pertinency and relevancy, that it might have some employment prospects. So we're going to tell you how to become a successful economist. All right, the wrong way is basically what they recommend you do now. It's the traditional way. You logically, as you would think, go and major in economics as an undergrad. And what you do is you learn about economics. Supply and demand, producer surplus, all this other stuff. And then what you find out is that about 1 billion other people have done exactly that. And there's nowhere near the demand for economist jobs that there is the supply that are being churned out with mere bachelor's degrees in economics. So what you got to do then is you have to go and get at minimum your master's, preferably your doctorate. Now, also, because there's so many people going into economics and there's only so much demand for economists in terms of employment, we have to specialize. We have to push it to the edge. We have to go to the edge. And what has happened, what you'll find out when you get your master's, and certainly your doctorate, is you don't really study economics anymore. You study math. You study statistics. You might get into econometrics, advanced level mathematics, financial formulas, all this other stuff. And you abandon how do we make people filthy, stinking rich, and how do we eliminate poverty? And trust you me, I've seen this. I've sat through a couple people presenting, what was it, their master's thesis? Not thesis, their dissertation presentation. Oh, wow, guys. It had nothing to do with economics. I remember this one girl, young woman. It was a decision-making spectrum, and I think it was using Bell distribution. It was almost like, was it Black-Scholes, the node tree? A lot of people don't know what I'm talking about. But it was along this spectrum, and it's like, well, if you make this decision, then there's this statistic. If you make this decision, and it was so boring. And the reason it was boring is not just because it was boring, it's because they had no practical application to the real world. And this, among many others, you start to see that it's basically mathematics masturbation. That's what economics degrees have become. You've abandoned the soul for it, and now they're going, and here's the irony, they're trying to, economics is about predicting the future, which any good economist will admit that they can't do. But what you see with these mathematicians, and that's what they are, is they're trying to figure out how to whittle out variations and risk and alpha and all that other stuff. Then maybe we get a little bit closer. You're not trying to solve the world's problems. You're basically becoming quants. And if you want to become a quant, if you want to get into math, why don't you go into fucking actuarial science, go into statistics, become a quant, go to computer programming, go into big data. But what's with this? Don't call it economics. It's not economics. Call it statistics. Call it finance. There's something else. But it's not economics. So what ends up happening, you get your master's, you get your doctorate, and you could go into one or two places to be, quote, a professional economist. Because 99.99999% of all economists' jobs are in two areas, academia and the government. If you go into academia, you're going to be underpaid. If you got your master's, you might make $18, maybe $20 an hour. Ooh, giggity. And you're going to teach what? Any of that advanced mathematical bullshit that no one's going to use on Wall Street? It's too theoretical to be used? No, you're going to teach the exact same crap you learned back when you took Econ 101 to a bunch of introductory students. Then you might do some research, but you're just going to be teaching the same boring stuff. You're not advancing any theories. You're not delving into what's going on in the real world. It's navel gaze. It's typical academia navel gazing. Then, if you're a doctorate, you're going to go and maybe teach some advanced classes, and then maybe you can do some research. With some of which actually might be interesting, but again, because it's all geared towards math, it's going to be, ooh, what new way of math can we do? And there's nothing to do with actual economics. The other thing is you can go and work in the government. And boy, if you thought academia was boring, in government you're just going to be a data entryman. You might do some modeling, you might do some more of your math stuff, but you're going to be in a basement, you're going to be with a bunch of computers, you're going to have a bunch of data coming in, and you're going to learn about methodologies and how to measure, CPI. It's going to be mind-numbing stuff. And the reason I say it's mind-numbing is because people don't go into economics to do data entry and programming computer models. Although programming computer models can be fun, actually, and actually somewhat useful. You're going into it to understand society, humanity, try to unlock the spirit of wealth. This is why Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations, not binary Boolean programming statistical variable analysis by MD, PhD, MS guy in economics and finance over at fuck you. He wrote The Wealth of Nations. Economics is a philosophy. That's what it is. It is a liberal arts. It is not a math. It is not a science. Hey, you can use math and science to help with the studies, but it's gone freakishly away from its original intention. Anyway, my larger point is whether you go academia, doctorate, master's, or government, you're not going to be an economist. You're not going to be doing economics. You are not going to be stimulating that part of that young, innocent, curious mind that you were when you're like, God, you took your high school economics and say, hey, this is pretty cool. And then you look through history, you study, maybe you read online. You're not going to be doing that. Now, the right way. Name me successful economists. Name them for me. Name some. Who are the most successful, famous economists? Name them. The top economists come to your mind. You might have Walter E. Williams, Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman. Who's the guy? Paul Krugman. We can even go back in the olden days. Karl Marx, Adam Smith, the philosopher, Hobbes, Locke, all these other guys. And you're going to realize they didn't sit there and, some of them are professors, but what are they known for? Why do you know these economists? Why are they the ones out there getting the money and the coin for their speaking engagements? It's because they write, okay? They don't sit there doing academic studies on math and statistics and modeling and financial variables and all this other stuff. They write, and they do one of two things, okay? They either lie and tell people what they want to hear, or they tell the truth and explain very complicated economic phenomenon, and they explain it to common normal people, say oh, I understand this now. I understand economics. Those are the two real types of successful economists. Those who write, and they either tell people what they want to hear, or they tell the truth. Krugman and Marx, frankly, liars that told people what they wanted to hear, okay? I'm not, at this point in time, I'm not even criticizing Krugman. I think it's a brilliant idea. I would have made a lot more money had it been like Oprah or Obama or Krugman and just lied and told people what they wanted to hear. But if you want to tell the truth and you really you want to become successful in that regard, write books that are consumable or articles that are consumable by the average person and say, I understand this. Okay, this is why Milton Friedman, Capitalism and Freedom, Hazlitt, Economics 1 Lesson, Walter E. Williams, what was his? My book, Bachelor Pad Economics. This is not, we're going to delve into the anal retentive mathematical detail of an irrelevant financial model that might get us 1 nanosecond quicker to the ETF trading platform than not. These are okay, I did it. My previous video, I think previous to this one. Is it? Yeah, previous to this one. Just go to my previous video, the one right before this one, and I explain why the economy hasn't collapsed yet. Simple American English terms. Anyone can understand it, not to belittle people or anything like that, but that's doing more good to help people, and that makes you more relevant and pertinent, and this isn't necessarily fame, but successful in people's minds, than some no-name quant sitting over in the basement at the Federal Reserve. Because you're doing more to help society. You're bringing economics to the masses. You're explaining real world phenomena that people don't understand, and then you're saying, here's why this is happening. Like, that is how you become a successful economist. And here's the other thing. It's not even necessarily money. Okay, now if you become good enough, you'll make more money. I'm sure Krugman makes way more money, and I'm sure Walter Williams, Milton, all these people made money writing books. There are also professors on the side, don't get me wrong. I'm sure they take a little scratch on the teaching aspect. So they do make money that way, but guess what? They're doing economics. They're not programming models. They're not doing C# or whatever. They're actual real philosophers and economists exploring the world. So how do you become that successful economist? Well, here's what you do. Number one, you don't fucking major in economics. Major in engineering, major in actuarial science, major in chemistry, go get a trade, become a plumber, become a welder, go work on the Bakken oil field. And then, because you have a genuine interest on your own, study economics on your own. Read books, read articles, read Zero Hedge, read the Wall Street Journal, and guess what? Don't pay one motherfucking cent in tuition for it. Because the education that you need to become a successful economist is free. It's all out there. All you have to do is go and study it yourself. You don't need to pay some professor who some master's kid who 2 years before you was in the exact same situation you were, but now you got to fork over $300 of credit. Maybe 10 of it goes to him, right? That's not what you got to pay. That's not how you're going to learn economics. Because also, academia, I don't know if you noticed this, they might be a little biased in how they teach you. There's a Keynesian theory, that's all they teach. You might find out there's other theories out there, like Austrian economics. I mean, it's crazy. Just, there's this whole world. Go and study it yourself. Read up on it on your own. And then write. If you have a penchant for some kind of stage presence, maybe do a YouTube channel. But write. Understand it. Read up on it. Learn it. Maybe not. But you could get to I'd say, a master's level of understanding of economics, minus the unneeded math and bullshit. You could understand economics probably more, I'd say, in one solid year of you personally dedicating an hour a night to reading up on economics, reading books, stuff like that. You would understand economics more fundamentally and thoroughly than your average master's student who's getting their masturbatory masters in math, or they call it economics. Right? Then, once you start making observations no one else has realized, or you're able to understand how different systems work, then you write, and you start explaining to your friends. You use that, I know the baby boomer establishment hates it. You use the internet, and you sell directly to your clients and your customers. And then, over time, this is not going to happen today or tomorrow, okay? But over time, while you're making, $80,000 a year as an electrician, or $90,000 a year as an oil hand, you slowly build up your readership, and in the exact same amount of time it took somebody to get their doctorate in mathematical masturbatory math and economics, you will actually have a way better philosophical and theoretical understanding of economics, and you'll be able to outright them. And by that time, you should also have a following that you don't need to ever apply for a job. You're not going to work in a cubicle in a basement without light over at the Federal Reserve or the FDIC. You're not going to work over at the IMF lying and telling them and giving them the data that they want. You don't have to sit and listen to these pointless, stupid, washed-up has-been professors that are producing nothing of value in the economics world of academia, taking classes that you don't need, don't have any interest in, and have no practical application to the real world of economics. And then, by the time you're dead, you will have more work, more notoriety. I don't want to say fame. That's not really what you're aiming for. I mean, you will be a more successful economist in that regard. And you will have helped out a lot more people in taking the time to explain economics to average common people than what it is getting a doctorate today that passes for economics. So that's your choice. You could go 8 years, waste your time learning something that's going to land you in a low-paid academia job, an overpaid government job, but it's going to be boring and your mind will not be mentally stimulated at all. You'll truly never really understand economics. This is why just look at quantitative easing of the Federal Reserve. Hey, but just print up more money. That'll work. Because that's what they're doing. Or go live your own life, dude. Do something that actually puts money in your pocket by the age of 20. Don't fucking get your master's. You're 24. You're in debt to God knows how high of heaven. And then you're begging and pleading to get that $18 an hour teacher's assistant job. No way. Go into STEM, go into engineering, go become an actuary, become a doctor, do something, but then your hobby, your true passion should be economics. And if you love it enough, if you research it enough, you explore enough and let your mind wander and figure things out, I mean, you flush out the idea, you kind of draw the diagram so it can make sense. And also, oh, here's the solution everyone's looking for, but no one figured it out. And then you present, dude, you're going to be a way more happy, way more successful, way more intellectually rewarded economist, and way more memorable, too. You'll inevitably come out with written works, right? Again, name the most famous economists, and then ask why are they famous? Because they're on the news, they're on the TV, and they write. It's not because, Bob Babson, oh, I know him because he's that world-famous economist. He's the junior-level economist who just got a job over at the IMF. Or at the OECD, he plugs numbers into a spreadsheet, and then he uploads them. He's a world-famous economist. Anyway, so that's it. Basically, if you want to become a traditional, outdated economist, go the traditional route. You want to become a real one, don't study it. I mean, don't go to school for it. Study it on your own. Get the education and wisdom for free, and you'll do infinitely better and be way more successful as an economist. Anyway, best of luck. Toodles.